I want to bring in Ian Parmeter. He's a research scholar at the Centre for Arab and Islamic Studies at the Australian National University. He's a former Australian ambassador to Lebanon. He's joining us now live from Canberra. So thank you very much indeed for being with us. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has previously been quoted as saying that recognising a Palestinian state now would simply be a, quote, performative gesture which wouldn't change anything on the ground. Given what he's just been saying in the last several hours or so, how much of this do you think is actually about trying to achieve a change, and how much of it do you think is bending to public pressure to be seen to be doing something?
I think undoubtedly the bending to public pressure has been part of it, and there's no doubt that the publics in Britain and certainly in Australia too, where I am, have been very much moved by the horrific pictures of starving children in Gaza that we see on our television screens every night. But Sir Keir Starmer is correct as well, I think, as a former diplomat, in that it won't make any difference as such on the ground. But what it does do is that it puts more pressure on the Israeli government. It makes it aware that it is losing international sanction for its war to defend itself, as it sees it, in Gaza. And so the more states that do this, the more the Israel will feel that somehow or other it has to win back public opinion. One of the major Australian newspapers, the Australian Financial Review, had an editorial on Monday saying that Israel was losing the battle for global opinion. And this really is the case. We've had our own Prime Minister, you just showed a picture of him a moment ago, saying that Israel's actions were indefensible, and saying also that when Israel denies that there's starvation in Gaza, it's incomprehensible. Now, I've worked with the Australian government on Middle Eastern issues for nearly 40 years, and I have never seen statements as strong as that from an Australian government, which gives you a strong indication of just how this debate is moving here.
I want to ask you about the ripple effect of this. If I understand it correctly, most countries in the United Nations, I see the figure 147 out of 193 already recognise a Palestinian state. Now, Britain and France, of course, are key because they are both key members of the Security Council at the United Nations. Do you think that if Britain does decide to go down this route and does make this decision in September, that will encourage other countries, like Australia, for example, to step up the pressure, as you were talking about?
I think that it will. Because Australia, for practical purposes, is an ex officio member of the G7. We've been invited to the G7 summits for 3 or 4 years now, which means we try to identify in our foreign policy with the general group consensus there. Now, I have no doubt that France and Britain will be talking with other G7 leaders, trying to get as many others as possible to join them in September when the General Assembly meets to make this, put this pressure on Israel to recognise a Palestinian state. I mean, it is right that it doesn't make much difference on the ground, but it does serve to indicate the international outrage at what is happening in Gaza at present. Now, Australia is not immune to that. We've got a centre-left government, and there's strong pressure from within the government, among the government backbenchers, for Australia to follow the UK in doing this. We'll have to see if that happens. But I think at some point it will happen. It's a matter of when, not if, at this stage.
I want to ask you briefly, sir, if you don't mind, just with regard to the longer-term practical impacts of this, and I appreciate what you've been saying in terms of what may actually happen in terms of change on the ground. I have seen it reported that part of the consequence of recognising a Palestinian statehood is that a government which does that has to review all the agreements to make sure that it doesn't violate that country's obligations to the Palestinian state. Now, of course, the UK has trade deals, including defence deals, almost by third party, with Israel. What do you think the impact could be of that in practical terms?
Well, we're not as closely intertwined with the Israeli economy as European countries are. So I don't think that will really be a problem as far as the government is concerned. And I'm quite sure that my former agency, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, will be giving legal advice to the government on any obligations that might arise from that. But I don't think these will be in any way insuperable. But what it will do is that we do have a very strong pro-Israel lobby here, and they will certainly be lobbying the government to hold it back from this formal recognition. But we'll have to see how that plays out as well.
Ian Parmeter from the Centre of Arab and Islamic Studies at Australian National University. So thank you very much indeed for your time.
You're welcome.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.